Hi, boys and girls. Last week we had a chance to read a Humphrey book about camping, and this week we are going to be reading Humphrey's Treasure Hunt Trouble. And this book is written by Betty G. Burney, and it's illustrated by Priscilla Burris. And we're going to find out what kind of adventure Humphrey goes on in Treasure Hunt Trouble. So today we're going to be reading Chapter 1, and Chapter 1 is called Secret Treasure. Think about, have you ever found a treasure? If you haven't, would you like to find a treasure? All right, so let's find out what happens to Humphrey. Secret treasure. Can you keep a secret, Humphrey? Garth whispered. Of course, I whispered back. But since I'm a hamster and Garth is a human, all he heard was, what do you think he heard? Squeak! How about you, Og? Garth asked my friend. Og answered, boing. He's a frog who makes a very, very, very strange noise. There's Garth looking at Humphrey. There's going to be a treasure hunt in my backyard tomorrow, Garth said. Don't tell anybody, okay? Wow, I squeaked. I wasn't sure what a treasure hunt was, but it sounded exciting. Boing, boing, Og splashed around in his tank. I've worked out some of the clues already, Garth said, and I haven't even told AJ. AJ is Garth's best friend. They are both in my class at Longfellow School. I'm the classroom hamster in room 26. Og is the classroom frog. It's part of my job to go home with a different student each weekend, but Og usually stays in room 26. This weekend, Garth invited everyone in our class to a party. He even invited Og and me. Our teacher, Mrs. Brisbane, said we could both go, and that made me happy, happy, happy. My cage and Og's tank sat on the desk in Garth's room. We watched as he cut paper into squares. There they are. The clues should be hard, he said, but not too hard. After all, somebody has to find the treasure. What's the treasure? I asked, wishing Garth could understand me. Garth stopped cutting paper and looked at me. Thanks, Humphrey, he said. You gave me an idea of where to hide it. You're welcome, I squeaked. But I want to know what the treasure is. Boing, Og said. As Garth began writing on the squares of paper, I thought about treasures. In the books Mrs. Brisbane read to us in class, people often looked for treasure. It was always something special, like gold and silver coins, or sparkly jewels. Sometimes treasure was buried in the ground. Sometimes it was at the bottom of the sea. I scurried to the side of my cage near Og's tank. What kind of treasure would you like? I asked him. Og just stared at me with his goofy eyes. I didn't think coins or jewels would be much use to a frog. He'd probably rather have crickets or flies. Ew. Coins or jewels wouldn't be of use to a hamster either, but I still wanted to go on the treasure hunt. Suddenly, a small voice called out, Ham! Garth's little brother Andy raced into the room. He came over to my cage. He's a hamster, not a ham, Garth told him. Ham! Andy shouted. I don't like being called a ham, but Andy's very young, so it's okay. Andy pointed at the squares of paper. What's that? That's where I'm writing down clues for the treasure hunt, Garth explained. What's that? Andy asked. It's a game where my friends have to follow clues and see who can find the treasure first, Garth said. What's that? Andy asked, pointing at Og. That's Og the frog, Garth said. Now be quiet so I can think of the clues. Garth put his fingers to his lips and said, Andy put his fingers to his lips and said, Shh. Then he said, Frog. Andy stared hard at Og. Og stared right back. Boing, Og said in his funny voice. Shh, Andy said. Og leaped into the water with a huge splash. Garth sighed. Mom, he called, can you get Andy out of here? He's bothering me. Garth's mom appeared at the door. Let Andy help. He wants to be included in the party. I can't come up with clues with him around, Garth complained. He can only stay if you watch quietly, Garth's mom told Andy. She put her fingers to her lips and said, Okay, I'll watch, the little boy answered. At first, Andy stood quietly as Garth wrote on his slips of paper. What rhymes with flower? Garth asked. Boing, Og said. Poor Og doesn't know that boing doesn't rhyme with flower at all. Shower. That works, Garth said. I was trying to think of a flower that showered when Andy asked, What's that? A clue, Garth told him, like a riddle. Whittle? Andy said. Aha! A clue is like a riddle. I like riddles. I was really curious about these clues. Garth wrote some more. Then he asked me, what do you think of this clue? Everyone knows you must water a flower. Tip me over, I'll give you a shower, he read. It's great, 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 I squeaked, but I had no idea what the answer to the riddle was. As Garth wrote, he muttered other strange words like frown and goal and basket. Then he opened a desk drawer and pulled out a treasure chest. It was so small he could hold it in the palm of his hand. Still, it looked like a real treasure chest. It even had a tiny lock. What's that? Andy said. It's the treasure for the treasure hunt. It's something anyone in room 26 would love to have, Garth said. Anyone? Even a hamster? Remember, this is a secret, he added. Do you promise not to tell anyone? Promise, Andy said. Promise, I squeaked. Boing, Og agreed. To my surprise, Garth opened the door to my cage. Then he carefully put the treasure chest inside, covering it with my bedding. Leave it right there, Humphrey, he said, and don't peek. Okay, I promised. But even as I said it, I knew it would be a very hard promise to keep. There he is, putting the treasure chest in his cage. All right, that's chapter 1. The next chapter is The Trouble Begins, and we'll find out what happens. Make sure to share with your parents about the setting and the characters and what happened in this chapter